So what is up and what's happening? So right now I'm coming to you from months in the future. This video, I kind of broke it up into two different sections. The first section I'm working on what I was hoping to be was going to be the body kit of the car. I'll let you watch it and I'll explain more about that in just a little bit. The second section is going to be me kind of finishing off some loose ends, working on the interior, getting the fuel tank figured out so that way I can eventually get the car up and running and out of there. Keyword being out of there. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So let's just go ahead and get right into this first part where I'm building out a body kit. Then, like I just said, I'll explain a little bit more about what is going on. As you can notice, the vibe is different, the aesthetic is different. I'm not at the shop right now at the time of filming this. And everything that I know to be Bodhi Vision is going to be changing. And I hope you're going to be along for the ride. Whew. So in the last video we were focusing on the hood scoop and side skirts. Fender flares have been done for a little while now. We're almost done. And in this video we got back bumper, and also we have a, not for this car, but we have a front bumper. Now keep in mind, none of this stuff was built for this car, but we are just going to have to do what we always do. Fake it to make it. We got a grinder. I know how to mess with fiberglass. We're gonna make something happen, right? So these are actually the front bumper and rear bumper that go with the side skirts. And keep in mind, none of these parts were built for this car, but we're gonna make something happen. So let's just go ahead. We got the back right here. We're just gonna start on the front. I'm just gonna put these off to the side. Now with the front, with the addition, I want it to sit, I think, somewhere under here, so that way our differences in fitment will be hidden with this little edge. I think that's a good way to think about it, or a good way to look at it. Man, and for being fiberglass, this thing is really heavy. Guarantee you there's 2 or 3 gallons of Bondo on here at least. We'll see once I start cutting. So like I said, I'm gonna follow this line around, just get that zipped off, and then we'll go back and forth, cut, trim. Either way, we'll be going back and forth and checking it all throughout the day. I don't even think it's worth messing around, because I want it to be about where it's at, and it's gonna need to obviously be not sitting on the ground. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go for the next line. Okay, we are getting somewhere now. Alright, so it was definitely a bit of a struggle, but this is what we got thus far. So what I ended up doing was cutting the bumper into a bunch of different sections. This is one piece, the front is one piece. I had to spread it out just a little bit, but you can see right there, pulled it apart. And the reason why I had to pull it apart is because, like I talked about a little bit ago, is I needed these corners to line up, and then this piece had to come off so that way everything else can line up. So what it came down to is I was thinking it's not working out So let me just cut it up and then I'll place it together exactly where it needs to be. Now comes the fun part of trying to get this to actually become one piece again. Alright, so at this point the body kit was coming together and it was looking just how I wanted it as I was building it, but I realized two things. One being, the more and more that I'm doing to the Accord, the more and more it's becoming less of an Accord. This is really already a car that's not supposed to be real crazy, and I was figuring the motor inside of a Honda Accord is crazy enough. Now we got a crazy body kit. We were worried that the crazy body kit might have been taking away from the craziness that is the LS motor in the car. And also the second thing that I was realizing was the more pieces that I'm putting on, the more work that I'm giving myself to actually finish this car. And that's what I want to do. I want to finish this car. So for V1, version 1, which might be the last version just depending on what I want to do with the car, where everything is going, I'm just going to leave it stock body with flares because we have to. The hood scoop because that's a must, and then the louvers in the back are looking good. But as far as front bumper, side skirts, rear bumper, I'm going to put that off to the side for now, and I just want to get the car dialed, primed, painted, and pretty much complete. I've been working on this car for way too long as it is. I almost feel like the project has gotten a little bit stale, especially with the lack of effort that I've been able to throw at it. So that's what I want to do. Body kit, I want to know what you think about it down below nevertheless. So right now, with all of the factors at play, I'm going to leave the body kit off to the side and just focus on getting the car done. Now what I want to get into is some other stuff that I needed to finish up, and we'll go right into that clip now. What we want to do today, what we want to address is some stuff that I just kind of left. I just kept rolling with other things. Now that thing that I'm talking about is getting the gas tank in the Accord. I want to get that gas tank secured. I want to get it finalized. Right now there's just a big gaping hole around what is the gas tank, and keep in mind this is the gas tank that was in the GTO or the donor car that we used. I just used as many things that I could to try to save as much money as I could save, but now we got to integrate those things to make them fit, make them flush, make them look nice, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So as you can see back here is the tank. This is the tank from the GTO. You can see the GM stamp on it. I was planning on running the fuel filler through behind the license plate. My original plan was to put a little hinge on the license plate, have that flip down, put my fuel in this way. But the problem is it's just all not going to work. So I'm going to figure something else out. I'm going to ditch all that. But what we want to do is finish this out so that way the tank, that way we don't see the floor from the inside of the car. We need to seal this in and get it to be one piece. So what I want to focus on first is I want to build a trim that's going to go around and it's going to hug the tank, and then we're going to utilize that trim, bring metal up to it, and then I'm going to put a piece of automotive grade foam on that edge. Let me just cut a piece and then I'll show you. So what I want to use the sheet metal for is to essentially make a piece of angle iron. That angle iron is going to sit on the existing ridge, and then it's going to go down the tank, or it's going to be held off the tank, and that's where I'm going to put that automotive grade foam, just so that way the tank is a little bit cushioned in there. So what I want to do is I want to have an inch on the existing and an inch going down the tank. So an inch and an inch. I'm going to make a 2-inch strip. Now the tank, there's the long ends and then there's these corners right here. So the way that I'm thinking is that's going to be one piece. From there to there is going to be another piece. From there to there is going to be a third piece. Then there's going to be another one. So 1 and 4 are going to be very similar. And then there goes 5 and 6. So what we need to do is we need to bend all the angles, or we can do it however we want, but all this is going to be bent. But then I'm going to show you how we're going to make these corners or these radius pieces, and the way that we're going to do that is by stretching and shrinking the metal to manipulate it to fit around that bend really nicely. Then we'll weld it all together, and the first step is to just make the straights. Then we'll worry about stretching it and shrinking it with our Eastwood stretcher and shrinker set. So what we have right here, we have two straights. This will be one of the straights. This will be one of the corner pieces, which is kind of a corner piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw 90s in these, so that way it's an inch going up, inch going over, and then we'll worry about stretching them and shrinking them. So here's all of our pieces. Once this 90, if we want it to bend, if I wanted this piece to bend this way, what I would do is this plane, if you stretch it, it actually causes the piece to bend. We'll go ahead and go throw it in the stretcher, shrinker. If we stretch too much, we'll work with the shrinker as well. So whenever I'm working with the stretcher, I have the shrinker right there, so that way we can really fine tune and dial a bunch of this in. Even though this is gonna be a long straight, and these are gonna be some of the corner pieces. Let's do a couple little bigger ones in this area. Kind of little ones here until we get to my next line. You know what I mean? Yep. All right, bigger in here. Yep. Alright, so we have our shape right here, and I went underneath before, or I went and actually looked at the tank right there. This area, we don't want it to be as sharp. We don't just want it to come across right there and 90 straight over. It's kind of more of a gradual curve, or more so a 45 right here, and that's why I marked that, and a 45 right here, and that's why I marked that. So let's go to the tank and take a look. So the reason why it's bending is because this plane is actually stretching, causing it to bend. It has no other place to go but to bend. So right now this area, that two ends, this is actually running into the tank. So I want to kind of spread them back out a little bit. So what we're going to do to spread it back out is just the opposite of what we just did. So rather than stretching it, we're just going to shrink it just a little bit, maybe towards the ends, just to get that to, instead of pointing like this, we want it to kind of come up that way. So we're just gonna look at that, and you can tell it's a little bit tighter than a 90. So we want to bring it closer to a true 90. All right, so now that we had took all of our pieces, we had kind of welded them together, made them a frame, and it's looking really good, really cool. It almost looks like an old school window frame for if you were doing a chop top or anything. I'd imagine that you do something the same way, and dude, I'd love to get into that, chopping cars, chopping a roof, making it look lower, getting into mid-30s cars. I don't know if you'd be interested in watching that, but I would like to do that here eventually. That's kind of where I got inspiration from and why I wanted to do this. So I know I didn't really do a great job at showing every single piece, but that corner piece that I just made, we made obviously 4 more of those, the 2 straights, and what we have to show for it is this piece right here, this whole thing. That's, you know, that's how it looks. That looks really good. Now what that's gonna do, that's gonna go in the trunk right here. So we obviously pulled the tank. That's gonna fit in there. But now the thing is, this window frame looking thing, if it's really good around the tank, just like it's supposed to, as you can see, but there's actually a difference of where that piece has to go and then where it is around the tank. So I had to build something to fill in that gap. I'm just gonna go ahead and rosette weld everything in, and then we'll go from there. Back to our screw holes. All right, so actually we just had a little change of plans. It actually got, I'm not trying to be real dramatic, but I just got the news that the owner of the property over here, he listed the property. The property's under contract. I might have to get out of here in the next couple of days. So as far as the fuel tank goes, I'm really liking how it looks. It's in there, it's sitting really nice in that section with the tank in there. I want to fully cover that so that way I have sort of a firewall. I don't like the idea of the fuel tank actually being in the cabin that I'm inside of, even if we have some seats and whatnot in between us. I don't necessarily like that. So I want to closing that entire thing in, figuring out what we want to do as far as fuel. But we just had a bomb dropped on us. So what I want to do is I want to split this up into 2 different videos. The next video, since this video is already as long as it is, the next video, and that's going to be 1 week from the time I upload this video. I know I've been months and months and months without uploading, but I'm gonna try to not do that with what I have going on, with what I have coming up. So anyways, this video is working on the car. The next video is going to be a lot more information about the shop, what's happening, what I'm gonna do, what my plan is, what I'm gonna do with the cars that I still have, what Bodie Vision is going to be, my plans for everything, how I'm gonna make it happen. I'll tell you, I have full intention of moving forward with everything, with Bodie Vision, with building cars, with working on cars. It's just a matter of trying to figure out the logistics. So that'll be in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video. Let me know what you think of everything. It's a little bit scary, but it's exciting because something is going to happen. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.